What's going on, guys? Get you 123 here with more Grand Theft Auto 5, and as you guys know, yesterday Rockstar released another trailer showing some next-gen GTA 5 footage, and so today I've got for you another graphics comparison in which we are going to be comparing the PS3 graphics to the PS4 graphics. Now, even though these are going to be pictures from the PlayStation, these can of course be applied to the Xbox as well, because for the most part, you know, Xbox and PlayStation pretty much look the same. People will say that PlayStation looks slightly better, which may be true, but the difference is pretty negligible, so we're not going to get into a console war here. And lastly, just to give credit where it's due, these pictures were thrown together by a user on the GTA forums who goes by the name of RaduG, I hope I said that right, and then they were posted to the GTA 5 subreddit, and then I figured I would share them here for you guys all to see and enjoy. So if you like this video and you like the pictures, then please show that like button some love, or if you dislike it, then show that dislike button some love as well, but make sure you tell me why you did in the comments below. So without any further ado, why don't we take a look at the first picture. So for number one here, this is a picture from the PS3, and obviously this is the Nudist Colony that you go and you find out in the wilderness, and they're like the hillbillies who try to attack you. Take a look at a few different details here. What I want you to look at is the guy on the left. Look at his stomach. This is going to sound kind of weird, but look in his crotchal area. See how everything's kind of blurred? There's not much definition. Also look at the guy who's front and center. Look at the stains on his shirt, and then also look at the grain on the wood in the background. All of it's kind of blurry. None of it's super stand out clear, but then look at the PS4 version, bam, just like that. I feel like everything kind of comes to life here. Suddenly, the guy's wrinkly stomach has a lot more detail to it, and also, once again, his crotch, that area is just more, this sounds totally ridiculous, but it's more clear and more defined in the guy who's front and center. His shirt, the stains on it look so much better, and the wood in the background, it's actually got texture to it. It's really much more lifelike, and right now in my head I'm thinking about the comments I'm going to get for mentioning the guy's crotch, but I don't care. We're going to carry on with the video. So for the second picture, we are moving back to the PS3, and here you've got Michael, his wife, and the yoga instructor, which, if you play the story, is a pretty hilarious situation, but take a look around. You can see that really, as far as lighting goes, there's not really much of it. The whole thing is kind of lit the same. There's no shadows, no sun. It's all very even, lifeless, boring, dull lighting. And the buildings in the background, okay, they look alright, but as far as the texture on the bricks and everything goes on the ground there, it all kind of looks flat, nothing special. But then when we switch over to the PS4 version right here, everything kind of jumps to life. Suddenly there's shadows, there's ambient lighting, there's dynamic lighting, and those bricks don't look like they're just pasted onto the ground as much. I feel like in between the bricks and the grout, you can actually see definition, you can see shadows, and you can see much more depth. Not to mention the water on the left side looks good, and the ivy on the wall looks so much more lifelike. So I think what Rockstar's doing here is really great. These graphics are really, I think, gonna make such a more lifelike environment for Grand Theft Auto, especially in the nature department. So for picture number 3, back on the PlayStation 3, we're going to try to speed things up here because I don't want this video to get super long. You've got these crazy old people. Obviously it's raining outside, and it also appears to be nighttime. And the problem that I have with this is, look at the old people. They're lit up like it's the middle of the day. I mean, behind them is really dark, it's raining, it's storming, but I feel like the lighting on them is like it is just broad daylight. But then when we switch over to the updated version on the PS4, you can see that that is not a problem. Suddenly they're actually shaded. Also, the light is being casted on them in a realistic fashion. They're not just evenly lit as if it is broad daylight, they actually have shadows. Look at the right side of the man's face. It's dark, but on the left side of his face, there you actually have some light shining on it, and it just looks so much more realistic. It looks much more ominous with the skies and everything in the background, and just a lot more realistic overall. So for picture number 4, we've got the same people, except this time Trevor's thrown into the mix. And once again, one of the first things that I noticed is the lighting, but I went off on a rant on that for the last picture, so I'm not going to explain that all again. But shift your focus to the street. You can see it's got some cracks on it on the left side, and they don't look bad per se, but they could be better. The road is clearly weathered, it's got some, you know, some cracks, some damage, and stuff like that. But when I switch to the PS4 picture, make sure you look at the road. But lastly, before we switch, take a look at Trevor's face. And this is one of the interesting changes that are going to happen when we take a look at the PS4 picture. In here, he just kind of, he looks much different between the two pictures, so we're going to switch in 3, 2, 1, now. So look at his face. I mean, obviously it's still Trevor, but to an extent it could almost pass for a completely different person. The lighting on it, as always, is much better, but there's also, I feel like, an ability to convey more emotion. With that increased detail, I feel like facial expressions and things like that are going to be better than ever, because before it just looked kind of lifeless compared to the PS4 picture. And then also, as I mentioned, look at the road now. With the car behind him, this lighting, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. That's starting to look really realistic. realistic. The colors in the road and then the cracks on it, the detail is just so increased from the PS3 version that it just looks downright awesome. So moving on to the fifth picture, we've only got one more after this. We've got Franklin with the paparazzi guy, and Franklin's got a pretty cool haircut here, and things don't really look necessarily bad here. Once again, the lighting is very even, and besides that, I mean, I feel like for this being PS3, it doesn't look too bad. Franklin's hair has some nice texture to it, and the guy with the camera doesn't necessarily look too bad. But then you can see as we switch to the PS4 picture, suddenly, once again, everything just pops to life. You actually have realistic lighting, and it just doesn't feel as lifeless as before. I mean, before it was very dull, and suddenly you've got these dynamic shadows again going on, and the shading and the textures and all that stuff. I feel like I'm saying the same thing for each of these pictures, but for each one, it's such an improvement. So it's kind of hard to find like unique things for each one because they're all so much better. So moving on to the sixth and final picture, we've got Franklin pounding it with a golden retriever. So as always, take a look at the usual blurry graphics. The grass and the dirt and the road in the background really have no true detail or definition. They're all just kind of blurred together. Franklin's clothing kind of has some different shading and lighting and the wrinkles on it, but for the most part, there's really not much going on. And the golden retriever, frankly, looks like an action figure. It actually kind of looks like something that you might get out of like a McDonald's Happy Meal. I mean, it's really got no hair texture to it, and it actually kind of looks like it's molded out of plastic or something like that. So switching over to the PS4 version here, as I've been saying for all these pictures, everything is suddenly lifelike. From the hair on the dog, you can actually kind of see individual hairs around the legs and stuff. Even the texture on the road on the right side of the screen there, things actually look like they have depth of field, and you know, they're actually more popping out. They're not just flat and blurred. And once again, Franklin's got some more realistic lighting on him. It's just everything is all around better. So I think I've said everything I could say about all these pictures. I'm sure you've kind of picked out some things that you liked as well, but for the most part, that does it for me, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please rate it down below and leave a comment with what you think. With that, please stay tuned for more videos in the future. I will see you next time.